On this episode, we check out one of the new fishing crazes in New Zealand, squid fishing. Our experts share all the tips and techniques for catching a feeder squid.
We pulled away like this and to hook onto the squid.
Also, we take you on a spectacular dive to the Poor Knights Islands, one of the most scenic dive spots in the world. Hi and welcome to Black Magic Fishing NZ. Well, today it's all about squid fishing. I'm in the studio actually cutting the show together as we speak. Squid fishing has become a craze in New Zealand. If you drive down Tamaki Drive, you see everyone at night squid fishing. So what we've done is we've gone out for a night squid fishing with some real enthusiasts, and then we went round to Tackle, spoke to Tony Huang, who's a real squid expert, about a few tips and tricks for squid fishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix in a bit of squid fishing with a bit of an interview, and then we're going to hopefully tell you everything you need to know to get you out about squid fishing. A few interesting facts about squid. Squid's one of New Zealand's major commercial exports. It's worth about $96 million a year, so it's big dollars for the commercial industry. Recreationally, squid is fantastic to eat, it's good fun to catch, and I tell you what, it makes excellent kingy bait and snapper bait, so there's a lot of reasons to learn how to squid fish. If you're interested in squid fishing, you don't need a lot of specialist tackle, although what I will say is they do make specialist rods and reels for squid fishing. And what you get with a squid rod is quite a long rod that's got quite a progressive curve. The reason for this is when you're playing a squid, you want to be very delicate for a number of reasons which we'll point out later. The other thing, with squid reels, you set your drag very lightly, because when you hook a squid, the last thing you want to do is have a really tight drag, because something happens which will happen quite often. If you strike too hard or pull too hard on the squid, you'll actually end up with a tentacle and no squid. The rig is very, very simple. All we have is some braid or mono, it doesn't matter, and on the end of that we put a bit of fluorocarbon leader. Now you can use anything from 6 pound up to about 15 pound. That's all you need for squid, because they're not going to bite you off, they're not going to bust you off, they're not that strong. But if you're fishing in rocky areas and you're getting your squid jigs caught up in the kelp and things like that, use a bit heavier leader so you don't lose your squid jigs. Now squid jigs, they come in a number of shapes and sizes. We're going to talk a fair bit about those today. But you only need 3 or 4 in your kit. A simple rod, a bit of mono, any rocks around Auckland, around the west coast, around the east coast, you're off squid fishing. We did 2 things to put this show together. We went out for a night squid fishing at Marsden Point, one of the hot squid fishing spots. And we also went to Tackle and spoke to Tony about what makes a good squid fishing spot.
A good squid fishing spot, basically squid likes very clear water. So that's first very important point. Crystal clear water, weed. The squid loves to hang around the weed, and kelps, rocky area. So basically if you have a sand, rocky area, have some big patch of weed beds, that's more likely you find some squid on New Zealand East Coast.
We were having heaps of fun catching tons of squid. We were really onto them once it went dark. But I asked Tony, do you catch squid during the day?
You definitely catch squid during the day. Actually, that's one of my preferred ways to do it. It's visually more exciting. Sometimes you even catch more than nighttime if you find the right spots in the right place.
One of the other good indicators of a squid spot, if you go there during the day and you see these big black streaks everywhere from the ink, you know that there's been some squid caught the night before. And the other thing, a good warning, watch out for the ink. There's a number of people that got squirted when we were out during the night and their clothes got pretty blacked up. Now I said to Tony, yeah, I see people fishing for squid all the time, but is there a season for squid fishing?
Later May, early June, then the season right through after Christmas, January, February, slightly tapering down towards mid and towards the end of the February. As soon as February ends, that's it. Pretty much you won't find squid inshore, but there's still plenty around in the ocean.
Now, while squid fishing can be done from boats and from the shore, it's very, very productive from the shore, which is good for young kids and things like that. I said to Tony, what about in deep water? You know, because obviously a squid jig's too light to sink deep, and he gave us a tip for fishing with squid jigs in deep water.
Yeah, basically you can rig the squid fishing rigs in deep water just like your normal ledge rig, with a heavy 3-4 ounce or 5-6 ounce sink at the bottom, and 2 squid come off from the branches in the top, and just drift it on the seabed, and that's a very productive way to pull squid out of deep water.
Now, we were catching a lot of squid, probably 2 or 3 every hour, and a lot of the other guys on the wharf were using lights. So I said to Tony, you know, do lights make a difference?
Lights, it's a very sensitive question, yes or no. Sometimes a sudden light shine in a very dark spots, you might spook the squid away, but if you do supply the lights in a one spot for a long period of time, they actually help attract the squid in night time.
For researching the show, I went down to Tamaki Yacht Club a couple of times to watch the other people squid fishing to see what they were doing. And I noticed a few people were using floats with lights in them. And again, I quizzed Tony to see if there was any value in fishing this way.
Floats, it's a very nice and easy way to catch squid. Ideally recommended for the beginners or kids and stuff. It's not a very productive way, but certainly works.
Well, I know we get giant squid in New Zealand and they get to 40 feet plus. I think there's one down in the museum in Wellington. But the squid we're catching, you know, I said to Tony, how big do these actually get?
The biggest squid I've caught is 3.6 kilo.
One thing I noticed that when we were fishing, we were changing the colour of our squid jigs a lot. So obviously the question to ask Tony was, what's the best colour for squid jigs?
Squid jig colour is a very, very interesting topic. Of course, in the market, there's lots of colours. Generally speaking, pink, orange, green colour are very, very common colour. They work very, very well. During the peak season, your general colours will work really, really well. Sometimes during the moon phase changes and tides and the life circle, they change their appetite a bit. So there's odd colour comes in like a black, dark blue, dark brown, or mixture of colours on a one jig. They can work very well as well in some occasions. Generally speaking, pink, orange and green, that's 3 predominant colours.
And also, what about the glow-in-the-dark factor?
Yeah, luminous always helps at night, but not too much of luminous, but they actually puts fish off. A little bit of a vivid and a bit of a dull lumo, it's probably the best way to add on to a squid jig.